Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clayton Zoka, and welcome to another My Thoughts On. Today, I will be talking about the first three Laika films, which are Coraline, Paranorman, and the Boxtrolls. It would have been all four, but I've already talked about Kuba and the Two Strings when I did my double review for that and Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle. Yeah. So with Missing Link coming out oh, it's out today. Oh yes, it's out today. Wow. Missing Link is now out in UK cinemas and technically next Friday if you're outside the UK. So it would make sense to talk about these three animated stop motion films by one great company. So Coraline is the first animated film from them, and it's directed by Henry Selick. Do I recognise the name? Well, he's behind Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. So now you know. Coraline is based on I believe it's based on a novel by Neil Gaiman. Quick clarification, I have never read the book, so I'm just going to talk about Coraline as a movie, not a movie based on a book, because I have not read the book. So, alright, let's get into it. So Coraline is about this girl named Coraline, voiced by Dakota Fanning. And she wishes that life was, all butterflies and rainbows and just better. The parents are always working and they never have time for her. She just and the home, or shall I say, their new house is boring. Until she finds this secret door which opens up to another world, a world that she would love to go to. Everything she wants is there. And there's only one thing. Everyone there has buttons for eyes. I know, creepy. She comes across other characters like this new kid named YB and these two acrobats and Bohosky. And she sees them as just not interested at all. But in the other world, they are very, very interesting, including the parents. But in order to stay there, Coraline will have to do one thing, and that's for buttons put on the eyes. So, you might be thinking, this world sounds so creative and fun. It is, but then it gets a bit dark. And without spoilers, of course, it does go exactly like that. But she starts to learn the secrets of the other world, and it gets interesting, to say the least. So yeah, the plot doesn't sound like anything original, but it offers a lot of ideas, which I think is probably the strongest point here. This movie has so much elements into it that's so wondrous and so creative and in a way kind of magical that it works for a movie like Coraline. You didn't think it would work like that? Well, it most certainly did. The comedy is decent, even though I wouldn't categorize this film as a comedy per se. It's more like a thriller, animated drama, fantasy film in a way. When the film gets dramatic, also that's also in a way effective, and you can relate to Coraline, or as they call her, Caroline, which is quite funny and clever. But you can relate to her that she's in a new home and she's trying to, explore and wants to do wondrous things and all that. But everything around her is just boring and there's nothing to it. And when something scary happens, you get scared with her. And she is just a kid after all, so there's that. The first two okay, maybe the first act and half of the second act, first half of the second act. While it's interesting, not much goes on except for Coraline just doing what the parents say and meets these neighbours, and that's pretty much about it. Um, and like when I say the comedy's decent, I mean the comedy is, like I said, it's not really a comedy. I mean it's funny, but not like 100%, 70%, because most of it is just visual gags or just part of the character's charm, and especially to one character which I didn't think was funny, but is fine. I'll talk about that a little later on. I think the concept is original as heck. The plot, not so much, but I can understand why it's like this. So when you think of wonder and excitement and something unexpected, you expect Coraline with this not so original plot, but interesting one. With the original concept, with a lot of ideas to give out, it makes this film both enjoyable and terrifying. Oh boy, and trust me, we'll get to that soon. Animation. You know, for a first film from Laika, this is surprisingly amazing. And did I also mention that this was released in 2009? This was back when Fantastic Mr. Fox was released. 2009 was a great year for films and animated films, if you will. Coraline still, to this day, looks amazing. You can see the effort that Laika has put into these films, and especially with Coraline. The other world looks magical and just beautiful. The character animation may be slightly weird and... yeah, it may be slightly weird and a bit creepy, but there's some unique... there's like some unique, style to it that makes it stand out. You can tell who Coraline is, the cat, YB, the parents, The movements are very smooth, not very cartoony at all. And it's very well done. It's very well done. As for the real world, as impressive as it looks, visual-wise, it's not very colourful, and I know that's kind of the point, to make it look like just a boring, normal world, so Coraline will have to go to the other world. And when it comes to some scenes where we see some characters perform, like Bohovsky and the two characters voiced by Jennifer Saunders and Dawn French, I do not remember their names, sorry. And when we see that, especially in animation form, it looks incredible, and it looks like there's so much effort into that. The backgrounds are pretty great. They look gorgeous and very well crafted also. And all the scene when Coraline walked into the theater and you see all them dogs with the buttons. That's impressive because there is so many of them, and I guarantee you that they probably duplicated them or made another one entirely. It's impressive, I'll give them that, if that's the case. So, 2009 animation, stop motion. It still looks great. There's nothing really bad about it, and it hasn't aged badly at all. So, Laika, well done. You've actually gave us some revolutionary animation in a long time, and it looks amazing. Characters and acting. Our main character, Coraline, is a wondrous, mysterious, in a way whimsical and clever character. However, at the beginning of the film, she is a little unlikable. I get it that she is, the bratty kid who wants the parents just to, do what she wants with them and all that, but she is just annoying and I never liked her in the slightest. The parents are exactly the same and there's not much to them, and yeah. YB, I believe it's just made for the movie. I don't think he was in the novel. He's all right. His comedy is decent, and he's not particularly interesting, but he's weird. But I guess you would like him in a way. But as the film would go on, Coraline will become a of a definable, likable, and even relatable character, and the parents also get better too. There's Bohovsky, who used to perform in the circus with mice, which sounds weird, but it actually sounds quite interesting. Then there are these two characters by Saunders and French, who are, I believe, acrobats. Yeah, they're interesting, and they don't really offer a lot. But as for the other world, they are more and more interesting, and they're actually quite entertaining when you put your mind to it. You got Bohovsky and his circus mice act. You got the two acrobats, and it's just such an impressive scene. And these characters are just so much fun. You got the other dad, the other father, if you will, who's just fun and exciting. Then you have the other mother, who is the other mother to Coraline, and she seems fun and all that and exciting. But as the film would go on, you start to realise she becomes more interesting. And if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Then the cat, who is probably the only one that knows about the secret of the world, which is just him and Coraline. The characters are nothing special. They're likeable and fun. The main character is easily identifiable, and you really want her to win. You really root for her as well. And the rest are fun, quirky side characters, and the parents of Coraline are also great as well. The voice acting is pretty good. Dakota Fanning is the voice of Coraline. I don't know why I said Caroline. She does a pretty good job with her voice. Sorry. She sounds like an actual, I don't know, 10-year-old girl. I don't even know what age Coraline is. The parents are pretty good, especially in the other world. The real world they're okay, but in the other world they are better. Fun fact, Ian McShane actually voices Bohovsky, who also voiced, oh god, what's his name in Kung Fu Panda? Tar or something, from the previous year, before Coraline was released. Like I said, Jennifer Saunders and Dawn French voiced these two acrobats who are now just old ladies. They're quite entertaining in both the real world and the other world, and God, they're so much fun. Keith David is just great as the Black Cat. I mean, I always like Keith David, and in here he's just so much fun, and he has a purpose in there too. So not only have you got characters who are likeable, identifiable, and entertaining, you've also got some pretty good voice acting. And with all that, you make the characters believable, but at the same time, feel like they're in their own world. Mostly Coraline. So, for a first film, this was great. It's not perfect, but, it's great. The characters and the acting, also I've got to say, when it comes to the dark material, they're also really good. Like, all the dark elements coming from the characters, whether it's good or bad, is interesting. And when they start talking, when things get really, really bad, it's interesting. That's all. So with an original concept that has a lot of ideas to give out, amazing animation for a first movie back in 2009. I mean, wow. Characters, for the most part, that are mostly likable and great. Mostly. Some pretty good voice acting and a memorable score. Sure, the movie is somewhat predictable and the humour is a bit hit and miss. And YB is not really it's not really an interesting character, and the Jones start off as just kind of unlikable. But the film will get better with Coraline and the parents, and the film will become interesting and will, I guess, in a way, is more of a cult following to it. I mean, kids can watch it and all, but I see it more for adults than anything, really. So with Coraline, I'll give it a 9.6. If you haven't seen it yet, I do recommend it. If you're not a fan of scary stuff, then skip it, but I know there are people out there who would watch it because, well, it's scary. So yeah, next up is Paranorman. Paranorman was released in 2012, and pretty much like Coraline, I didn't see it. Not because I didn't want to, but I didn't have time. I didn't want to see it because the trailer looked so cool. I saw it a few years ago on DVD, and yeah, let's get into it. So Norman Babcock, that's really his second name, he can actually talk and see ghosts. And nobody can believe him, and I know where you're going with this. He has a sibling that's the oldest, who's the sister, who likes to talk on the phone. The dad is always like, humphy and grumpy with him. He has a bully at school. He has a friend who's the only one that actually listens to him. But then one day, his uncle, voiced by John Goodman, say that what he's doing is also very true. The witch's curse is true. Basically, there was these, I think, 5 zombies who come out to what seems like take over the town. And it's up to Norman and his team to stop them. And just like Coraline, this seems pretty straightforward, but really there is a bit more to it. It's quite impressive, really, because the team actually put effort in their writing to make what seems like a predictable and cliched movie into a really interesting one. And Paranorman is one of them. First off, unlike Coraline, the humour in this movie is pretty much on point. It's mostly a satire to zombie films, and I give the film lots of credit for that, because while it does take itself seriously, for the most part the comedy is pretty spot on and it's quite effective and really damn funny. The drama is quite strong, especially near the third act, and I won't give it away at all. The film's engaging, the slapstick is clever, especially for the stop motion. It's interesting to watch. The world of Paranorman is so interesting, and the whole idea of a character who can talk to the dead, and then there's a witch out there who's not really a witch, and then there's these zombies. It's just, there's so much potential in this. The plot itself is fine. It's pretty predictable, but you're not really paying attention to that. You're just having fun with these characters in this really fun zombie world. Besides the plot being predictable, pretty much like Coraline, most of these characters are unlikable, and it makes the movie kind of hard to sit through at times, but it does pick up from there. This movie has an idea that is so original, and it brings out some clever, effective humour, and so much drama that it works. It may seem like it doesn't, but it surprisingly works. With a mean-spirited tone and a predictable story, that's it's not quite perfect, but hey, it got there. Animation. Second animated film from Coraline. Now, you would think they would use the same style from Coraline. Well, I mean, it's stop motion, but no, actually, this is like a really exaggerated style. Well, Coraline's is just weird and whimsical and charming. Paranorman's is just like flat out just weird, nonsensical, and in a way kind of unimmature. The backgrounds in the movie look gorgeous, but at the same time they do look quite spooky, like it's actually from a zombie film. The character animation is so weird and obscure and bizarre that you can tell who's who from Norman, Courtney, Mitch, Neo, and the zombies, and yeah, The movements are slightly more exaggerated, but still more down to earth. Also, there is like one or two scenes that looks like they were used in CGI and all that. It did look a bit noticeable, but I'll give them credit that it's not too bad. The visual effects and the sound along with it is great, like the lightning and when you see the witch and the zombies all come together and this chase and oh wow, this studio just improves with their animation. It's just it's also in a way kind of a really fast and super engaging looking film. While it may not be one of the best looking ones since, well, it's Unpleasant, brushing that aside, this is still a great looking stop motion film that takes itself to a whole new level with its advantages. And standing out from the rest as well. Characters and acting. Probably the weakest part of the film are the characters. I mean, Norman's interesting, and, well, that's it. Maybe some of the zombies are, and maybe the main villain, who I won't say who. Everyone else are just stereotypes, like Neil is the best friend, Calvin, voiced by Christoph Mintz-Please, is the bully of Norman. Courtney, voiced by the beautiful Anna Kendrick, is the sister to... It's the sister to Norman. The dad is just the, oh, we don't believe in you, son, you gotta stop all this. The mother is just the caring one. And then the townsfolk, and then like the other characters in this little small town are like Simpsons side characters, where they're just there for making gags. And they are effective, I'll give them that, but there's nothing much There's nothing much else to them. The zombies are the second most interesting characters. They may seem like just zombies at first, but there's a little bit more to them than meets the eye. Norman's the most interesting because he has a gift, he's likeable, funny, relatable, you can see where he's coming from, you root for him, and he's just a kid as well, so you can see what the movie's trying to do. And the zombies are so interesting. Without giving anything away, like I said, there is a bit of a sad backstory with them, and you can see the effort that's put into that. And they do become more and more interesting, and you could get to like them as well, and they're pretty funny. The voice acting is pretty great. You've got some recognisable names like Anna Kendrick, Leslie Mann, Christoph Mintz-Please. The actor who voices the dad, whose name I don't remember, but I know he voices the captain from WALL-E and that one character in Toy Story 3, the unicorn. I don't remember. But yeah, all of the performances are great. The two kids who play Norman and Neil are great. And I'll also give the film this. Although it's PG, this movie is surprisingly mature, but also unmature or unimmature. The kids don't act like, they say, like they don't know what swearing or gore is. Like there's one scene when Norman would say, "You mean the F word," or he says sex. Like there is some mild swearing, but it makes sense because also these kids know what this stuff is, and it makes sense in the world of Paranorman. So the kids pull off a great, but also a very mature and watchable performance, and I like that. That's quite good. So were some funny characters and great performances. You got one interesting character and a group of characters who are very, very interesting. It makes these characters alive, but at the same time, let me start this again. You got characters who feel alive, and the rest of them feel dead. There, settled. Okay, Coraline's better, but Paranorman's not far from Coraline. Paranorman is a great zombie satire with a great premise, amazing animation, funny characters, and great voice acting. Granted, it's predictable and it has a very mean-spirited tone. The animation is ugly, even though it's great. Most of the characters you don't really care about, and, well, it's not... I wouldn't say it's really a kids' film like Coraline, but at the same time, I do recommend it. Oh, on a side note, John Goodman plays the uncle for Norman, and he's also great. So there you go. I will give Paranorman, I'm very sorry, a 8.6 out of 10. So, I do recommend both of these, but now we go on to the last one, and that is The Boxtrolls. Alright, the last animated film here from the company is The Boxtrolls, and The Boxtrolls is based on a book by Alan Snow called Here There Be Monsters, or There Be Monsters, or whatever. Basically, there are these creatures called Boxtrolls, which are trolls that live in boxes. Think of them as minions mixed with Wally. Think about it. And then one day, this exterminator named Archibald Snatcher, voiced by Ben Kingsley, wants to exterminate them. But what for? Well, he wants to get a white hat so he can go into this room and eat cheese. Oh, so that's why it's called Cheese Bridge. Makes sense, I suppose. But one of the box trolls is actually not a box troll at all. It's actually a boy who was raised by these box trolls, mostly fish, until one day they have to try and stop Archibald Snatcher. And in one witness, named Winnie Portley Ryan, voiced by Ellie Fanning, have to help Eggs to see that, well, he's not actually a box troll, he's actually a human. And it pretty much goes exactly where you want to, where it goes. I'm gonna be honest, even though I do like Laika, hey, see what I did there, I think all the films are great, especially this one. But however, unlike the other films, this one is not quite as great. I mean, I enjoy it and all, but unfortunately, this is the weakest one. And the plot is pretty much one of the weaker points, to be exact. Let me explain. Even though the first two films, Coraline and Paranorman, have plots that are predictable, but they also give out ideas, and you never think about the predictability or where it's going to come out. You are excited and all that. With Boxtrolls, it seems like the most harmless piece of fluff, really average plot that you can think of. Okay, this movie's not necessarily harmless. I mean, it's still PG, but out of all the films, it's pretty much the most harmless one. The humour, I'll give them credit that it's funny, but unlike the other two films, this film is mostly like comedy. It has drama, but unfortunately it's very short and it's not very effective. Most of the comedy is funny, even though it does get a bit disgusting at times. The action scenes are quite intense and enjoyable, and the movie has a lot of ideas to give out. Not as much as Coraline or Paranorman, but it still has ideas. What else? The concept of the movie is cute. It's nothing amazing like Coraline or anything, but it's cute. It sounds quite charming, and it could have worked for a movie, and in a way, it kind of works. The movie is not... like the other two films don't feel quite... I mean, they don't feel quite as short, but they feel a bit longer, which means you're enjoying the film so much and you're getting engaged with the plot. Here, it just feels like it just goes by quickly and it feels rushed. Remember when I said in my early Man review where I said it's basically Aardman's version of the Boxtrolls? I wasn't lying. Not only are these two films similar in plot, kind of, concept a little bit, and they have a main villain and a species or different kinds of people, if you will, that don't quite fit in with, the other higher ups. And I don't mean Snatcher trying to get the white hats, but I'll let you figure out the rest. Sorry, Laika. Even if you have effort in other elements, unfortunately here, the writing, the script, and the plot is probably the first time that this studio is not the best at, even if it's done better. Animation. Well, I can safely say that the animation is still strong. Not quite the best, but still amazing. First off, the backgrounds do look gorgeous, and they do look very, very well crafted. And also, it's also probably the most creative Laika film to date. Maybe, well, not just ideas-wise, but visual-wise, it looks amazing. Where Coraline is creative, Paranorman is intense. This movie's just charming, imaginative. It's very distinct. It's very strange, but I like it. And unlike the Minions, and I still like the Minions, fight me. The Boxtrolls are each identifiable by their looks. They don't look the same or anything. Big, small, some are different colours. You can tell who's who. I love the attention to detail in these movies. It's incredible. In here, it's got a very, and I know this is set in Cheesebridge, which I do believe is in the UK. There's so much attention to detail. It has a very British feel to it, and I really admire that. The humans look weird and obscure, just like just like Paranorman, but that's what makes them stand out. Especially characters like Snatcher, Mr. Gristle, Eggs, Lord Portney Ryan, and all that. Also, an extra bonus: Snatcher's machines look impressive. I don't know how the animators managed to create something like that. I mean, I can see them, the red skeleton from Kubo, the zombies from Paranorman, the other mother from Coraline. Those machines, wow, that must have took such a long time to make. And I know stop motion does take a long time to make, but with that, wow, there's so much work into this that I do appreciate. As much as I love the look of the movie, it's also just kind of ugly. I mean, yeah, the animation's brilliant, but it's not the most pleasant movie to look at, especially when it gets near the end. And I've got to mention this in the plot, but the third act, as much as it is fun, when it wraps up, it actually just kind of wraps up quickly without a lot of explanation. And like I said, it just goes by too quickly, and they just explain it like there are kids watching. I mean, I would imagine kids watching, but let's just say the film's not for everyone. Okay, I'm getting off track. I'm getting off topic. The animation is brilliant. It's still improving from Laika, but it's not quite as pleasant looking like the others. Characters and acting. The weakest part of the film, besides the plot script, is the characters. Not all of them are bad, just most of them are not that interesting. Sort of like maybe Coraline, definitely Paranorman, but here it shows. Eggs is I found Eggs just a bit annoying. He wasn't charming or likable until near the end, of course. He just didn't do that much for me. He's just like the outcast and just the one who doesn't quite fit in with the Boxtrolls, and yeah, he's okay. He doesn't do a lot to offer the film apart from this whole Trobstraw baby subplot, and you can tell where it's going. Winnie's annoying, although she is, like the helping friend to Eggs to try and stop Snatcher. She's also equally as annoying as Eggs, but a bit more annoying, I would say. Although she is quite charming, and visual-wise, she does look cute and pretty, but she is quite annoying. I never really found her that funny. The Boxtrolls are actually probably the best characters here in the film. They're charming, likable, not much dialogue, sort of like the Minions, except they're actually like really fun and they have unique personalities. especially Fish, or Shoes. You got Sparky, you got Sweet, you got Oil Can, you got Knickers, you got a lot of Boxtrolls, and they are quite fun, and I enjoy them a lot. Then you got the main villain, Archibald Snatcher, who's well, I said the Boxtrolls are the better characters, but the best human character is him. Not only is he threatening, interesting, and he actually has depth and personality, but he's probably the best Laika villain so far. With Raiden second, Other Mother third, the witch from Paranorman fourth, and I do not know the villain in Missing Link yet. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know who the villain is in Missing Link, so we'll have to find out. But yeah, Snatcher is just probably the best one. Although his accent and his voice does get a little grating, but besides that, he's just quite fun. And about his accent, I actually quite like it, thanks to Ben Kingsley, who's probably the best actor in the movie. He does pull off the best performance here. The only other two I can think of that I like is Mr. Pickle and Mr. Trout. They are the comic relief of the film, and they start to question whether they are good guys or villains. Sure, it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, it does, but it doesn't really move the movie or convince it doesn't really do a lot, but it's funny and amusing, and it does kind of have a point, I guess. Lord Portney Ryan is just the really douchey lord and father of Winnie. He's basically the one who's obsessed with cheese and does not have any care for his daughter. Oh dear, trouble is at stake. There's also Mr. Gristle, who's basically the henchman for Snatcher. I mean, Pickle and Trout are, but Mr. Gristle's more like the attack dog and the one who doesn't say that many lines. He's quite fun and entertaining, and he's a bit crazy. Other characters like Miss Portly Ryan, the wife of Lord Portly Ryan, voiced by Toni Collette, is exactly that. There are the other lords of the White Hats who are just there for comedy, and yeah, so although there are some standout characters, the rest of them are bland, boring, not funny, kind of mean-spirited, and pretty annoying. The voice acting is pretty top-notch. I mean, you've got Ben Kingsley, you've got Sean Harris, you've got Simon Pegg, you've got Nick Frost, Tracy Morgan, Richard Ayoade from the IT crowd, you've got Ellie Fanning and Isaac Hampton. I forgot his second name, but yeah. Like I mentioned, Ben Kingsley is the best actor in the movie. His performance is amazing. In the film, he doesn't actually sound like that in real life, but what they do for him is just incredible. It's so experimental, it's so much fun, it's interesting, and it's just so entertaining. Nick Frost is alright as Mr. Trout. Tracy Morgan, as kind of out of place he is in a film that's set in Britain, he's a lot of fun as well, and he's really into his role, and I think this and Louise from the two Rio movies are probably what makes him so fun and so entertaining. Yeah. Simon Pegg is this one mysterious character who I won't say who because it's spoilers, but again, just like Buck from Ice Age 3 and 5, he's entertaining and funny, and he's so delightful. Richard I can't pronounce his second name. Richard Ayoade as Mr. Pickle is just funny and amusing. Sean Harris is charming as Lord Portly Ryan. Ellie Fanning's not bad as Winnie, although her American accent, her British accent is a little lacking. It's alright, but not much else to say. The actor who plays Eggs is also alright. I'll give it that he does sound like, well, I presume Eggs is supposed to be like a 11 or 10-year-old boy. He does get a bit annoyed now and again, but he's not bad at all. Then you've got, like, you know, Toni Collette as Miss Portly Ryan, who's fine. Yeah. When you've got some delightful performances that are charming and entertaining, you've also got some characters that stand out, but then you've got some characters that don't. And some acting is a bit... Sad to say this, but this is the weakest Laika film to date. It's not terrible, I wouldn't say it's like bad at all, but it doesn't really offer a lot in terms of like quantity. This is basically just quality over quantity. I mean, yeah, it has an interesting concept that's cute. The animation is brilliant. Most of the characters are fun and has some delightful performances, but with its predictability, with its plot and just weak script and just a bit too childish feel to it. The animation, as brilliant as it is a bit ugly looking, and I mean I understand why, but still. You got some really annoying and just boring characters, and maybe one or two performances are not quite strong, is the right word. If you're looking for a family-friendly film, this movie might be it. This is probably the most harmless one, although not necessarily harmless, because trust me, this movie will make you sick by the third act, and I won't say why, but let's just say, just get ready with a bucket. If you like Laika, if you're a big fan, you will most likely like this movie. I will give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's not amazing like their other films, but it's still great. It's still fun, but it's definitely their weaker film. Oh, wow. 3 films in one. My thoughts on. Wow, that's new. I mean, doing 2 is fine, but 3, whew, it takes quite a bit of effort, my friend. Friends, in this case. So, that is my thoughts on the first 3 Laika films. And next up will be the big one. It'll be Missing Link. And that will be Saturday or Sunday, because I'm seeing it this Saturday. So, I'm sorry, US, you have to wait until next Friday. And then after that, I'm going to do the 2 Nickelodeon movies for the release of Wonder Park. So look out for them, but for now, let me know what you think of these 3 films. I'm interested to know, are they good, bad, medium, or whatever. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. And until next time, bye for now.